Good morning, everyone. I apologize for the delay. Our 16th virtual engagement session. The assistant to the Director of Public Engagement at the Office of Roy Cooper. During today's session, and a Department of Health and Human Service, Executive Director Gregory Richardson, a quick Q&A from the Director of Public Engagement, QUINN GODWIN. With us via the live stream chat rooms on your questions at the end of today's session. Thank you all for being here today.
Thank you, Akira. Good morning. Yesterday, we crossed over the 3,000 mark for new cases for one day, 3,119. That brings us to a 7.9% positivity rate. Also, with 1,246 people in the hospital, it's one of our highest days for hospitalizations. Because North Carolina is experiencing high numbers for COVID-19 cases, we're urging caution when gathering for Thanksgiving and other holiday celebrations, especially for gatherings that include people who are at higher risk of developing complications of COVID-19, such as anyone over the age of 65. The science shows us that the transmission of the virus is greater out indoors, and the more people virus saw increased spread from social gatherings in October. In gatherings such as in churches and small settings. Development. And that the FDA has also authorized a promising new treatment. So we do know that hope is on the horizon. That this year the holidays are going to be different. And the best Thanksgiving is to limit travel and gatherings with anyone who does not live in your household. Also avoid getting together in person, especially indoors. Let's all stay vigilant until a vaccine is available and we can get back to our regular traditions. If you are going to travel or get together, let's plan ahead. So, the best way to reduce your risk of viral transmission, again, is to limit travel during the holidays, limit physical contact with people who don't live in your household. You should also remember to practice the 3 W's. Wear a face covering, keep 6 feet apart for social distancing, and make sure that you're washing your hands very well. The 3 W's are even more important if you're getting together with someone who's at high risk of complications for COVID-19, or if you're traveling, or if you're planning to be with family members who don't live with you in your household during the holidays. There are some steps that you can take to reduce viral spread, and I'm going to be talking about those this morning. The other thing you can do is plan to get a COVID-19 test 3 to 4 days prior to travel or attending family gatherings. A test can help you know if you have COVID-19, even if you don't have symptoms. If you do have a test, consider this information, okay? A negative test only gives you information for that point in time. A negative test does not mean you'll remain negative at any point after that test. And also, screening tests may miss some infections, particularly those that are done using a rapid or point-of-care test. Even if you have a negative test, you should wear a face covering, continue to practice that physical distance, avoid crowds, indoor spaces, wash your hands frequently, monitor yourself for symptoms, and minimize contact with people who have high risk for complications for COVID. If you want to find out where to get a test, we've got a link on our website under Find My Testing Place. There are many sites that are free. Sites are also gearing up for holiday testing and people traveling. So go to our website to find that list of testing locations. It's also important to note that if you've been recently diagnosed with COVID-19, if you have symptoms, or if you've been around a person with COVID-19, you shouldn't host or participate in any in-person gatherings until you complete your isolation or your quarantine period. And that applies for everyone that is in your household or that would be attending an event. They really shouldn't. You should also consider asking all your guests to strictly avoid contact with people outside their household for 14 days before gathering. So in other words, have your own quarantine group. And then remind your invited guests to stay home if they've been exposed in the last 14 days of COVID-19 or if they're showing any symptoms. Be sure to clean and disinfect commonly touched surfaces such as door handles, sink handles, bathroom surfaces before guests come over and between uses. Make sure you got hand sanitizer available, folks to wash their hands when they come in. Also, make sure that you keep your guest list small, really small list of folks. And when deciding how many people to invite to your gathering, consider the amount of space that you have and your ability to maintain that social distancing during your Thanksgiving event. Also, guests that are at higher risk should really consider attending the event virtually. So, have some sort of a webcast available for them to participate so that they can maintain that physical distancing. Also, if higher risk individuals do attend gatherings in person, assure that, you're practicing the 3 W's. Again, limiting the number of people as much as possible. And then the day before the event, all the guests should screen themselves for symptoms, even the day of the event. And particularly if they're not feeling well, to be sure to stay home. If you can, host your gathering outdoors. If that's not possible, make sure that the room and the space is well ventilated by opening up windows and doors to the extent that it's safe and feasible based on the weather. Also, arrange tables and chairs to allow for that social distancing between guests so that people who are in the same household, they can be grouped together. But you want to make sure there's a distance of at least 6 feet between those family groupings or I should say household groupings and other groups or other families, even members of your own family. If you don't live in the same household, you really want to maintain that distance. We talked about the 3 W's, the wear, the wait, and the wash. You want to make sure that when guests need to remove their face covering to eat or drink, that they maintain that 6 feet social distance. And then also that they put the face coverings on right away after they're done eating or drinking. And I know that can be kind of a tricky thing, but it's going to be important, even if you put up little signs to help remember that. Because it's really easy to just fall into a habit of, having that face covering off and entering into a conversation. So be sure that you limit the people that are going in and out of areas where food is being prepared or is being handled, places like the kitchen or the grill. Have sort of a one household approach to serving food. So in other words, one household goes in at a time so that you're preventing the congregation of people that don't live together being in that same space. Also, you can have one person identified to serve all the food so that you don't have multiple people handling the food. And consider using single-use utensils such as plastic forks and knives and paper plates so that you're not running the risk of passing along any virus. So we want to make sure that your Thanksgiving is as safe as possible. We've got these guidelines on our website for you to go and look at and prepare yourselves and individuals that you may come in contact with. Again, we're in a phase where it still is safer to be at home. But if Thanksgiving gathering is something that you intend to do, we want to make sure you do it as safely as possible. Another Thanksgiving tradition is Black Friday. And again, Black Friday is another one of those settings where people can potentially gather. And anytime you have a gathering, you're running the risk for COVID-19 transmission. So you can still get these deals, right? Just let's do it in a safer way. So as retailers are preparing for the holiday season, they're ideally taking the necessary precautions so that shoppers can be safe and they can avoid the typical crowds of Black Friday. So one thing we know is that you can start your shopping earlier in the season, and some retailers are already doing that. We also strongly recommend that individuals don't participate in any of the traditional Black Friday shopping where customers gather in large groups waiting for the store to open, camping out. And also that they're not in crowded stores for extended times. As always, if you're a high-risk individual, we really advise you to stay away from that. And also, if you've recently been diagnosed with COVID-19, you've got symptoms, please stay away from any in-person Black Friday shopping. So some things to keep in mind before you go shopping. Check to see if the store offers any online shopping or curbside pickup that you can use instead of the in-person shopping. Look at the store hours, consider going at off times. Again, many retailers are doing their Black Friday deals over an extended period of time. And then see if they have any special hours for people that may be elderly or have other risk factors so that you can shop. Again, always wear a face covering. Most stores stores are required to have you wear a face covering, and most are very serious about enforcing that. Make sure you bring your hand sanitizer along with you when you're out shopping. Again, follow those 3 W's. That doesn't change. And it's also important to remember that the retail limits for customer occupancy are still in place, so they can have no more than 50% of all the employees and customers in the store, and everyone, again, is required to wear face masks. When you go in, use hand sanitizer. When you exit, use a hand sanitizer. Make sure that you're keeping your hands as clean as possible. Have a list of things that you want to get so you're not unnecessarily touching things. And also, consider the store you're shopping in. Only shop in those stores that have implemented proper safety protocols. For example, do they sanitize their carts between uses? Are they using touchless payment methods? Are they limiting occupancy? And do they have someone at the door that's monitoring that? And do they have social distancing reminders in place? There are markings on the floor, places for you to stand. And is there anyone in there enforcing that? Also, avoid shopping in stores that attract crowds and make that social distancing difficult. Like stores with, these in-person limited supply sales, or stores that have events like tree lightings, Santa Claus visits, etc., that aren't done in such a way that minimize contact and maximize physical distance. Also, avoid shopping with someone that's not a member of your household. So there's a lot to consider this year. And our hope is that this year is the last year that we have to put these type of practices in place. The more we can do our part to limit the transmission of the virus, to be prepared for a vaccine and to take that vaccine, the greater the likelihood is that next holiday season, it'll be a holiday season like we remember from years gone by. So I want to just remind you that for further information, we posted guidance for Thanksgiving as well as Black Friday shopping on our website. And again, thank you so much for your attention to this important matter, and let's work together to slow this rise in COVID-19, and let's also make our holidays safe as we look forward to being together next year for our traditional feast. Thank you so much again for your time, and I'll invite Carolyn to come up and give us some words from the volunteer office. Carolyn? Before you do, let me get my mask on.
We have to do our 2-step and stay safely apart. Hi, everybody. Hola. This is Caroline Farmer. I'm with the Volunteer NC. with the Commission on Volunteerism and Community Service inside the governor's office. So I want to thank y'all for joining us. I'm glad to see a lot of the names that are listed here calling in and logging in. So thank you for joining us. Welcome to Phase 3 with a dimmer. Now, with the numbers the way they are, the governor announced that we are rolling back one aspect real critical for the nonprofit volunteer groups, which is we're going from 25 people able to volunteer in a space to 10. So that means that we really need those 10 to show up. It is incredibly critical right now with the number of those unemployed, with the holidays coming up, that we are getting the food from the food banks to the pantries and out to the people. And that's going to become harder and harder as the winter goes by, which means that we need to monitor those vacancies at the various locations for food banks and food pantries and make sure that we are meeting their needs. For example, this morning, before I came here, I checked at the food bank for Central and Eastern North Carolina and their volunteer needs. And I will tell you that they have thousands listed for the next 3 months. Thousands of vacancies that you can step up right now and help, and do so safely. So that could be in a warehouse, that could be at a community garden. With the community garden, there can be 50 people outside helping out to make sure that there's fresh vegetables, fresh fruit for those in need. There are delivery for seniors, delivery for others, and making sure that the flow of food is getting to the right places. So I want to make sure people think about that. For companies, the food banks have been relying on companies and corporate groups to help out for years. Now that's not possible. So if you have community service hours, state employees, companies, think about taking 2 to 3 hours to go help out at a community food bank, food pantry. It is incredibly rewarding and is safe. Now, there are other needs out there. Last weekend, there was a effort for in Pender and New Hanover to make sure that we have disaster volunteers. And that they did a whole, what is it called? It was Repair a Fair. So they're talking about people who have skills, but also people who've never picked up a hammer before. We need bodies to make sure that we are repairing these houses that have been damaged by past hurricanes and getting people back home. Just imagine if you were not able to go home during all of this COVID time, and how hard that could be. So take the step of looking for those opportunities. We have them available on our website. We also email them out. The website is volunteernc.org. Or if you go to any of the state government websites, nc.gov, and look at and search for volunteer, it'll show up. But volunteernc.org is the quickest way. And click on volunteer opportunities and you'll see those opportunities. Now, in addition, I just have to reiterate a few things that Ben Money just mentioned. He was talking about Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Now, one of the things that I had on my list I wanted to make sure got out there and got your attention was the Slow COVID NC. Because this is important for volunteers as well as for shopping. It is an app. You do not have to put in your name. It is completely anonymous. It's free. And you'll find out quickly if you are at risk, if you've come into contact with somebody who has been found to be positive. That's a no-brainer. That's making sure that you find out as quickly as humanly possible to that you are at risk and not to go visit grandmother, to not visit an elderly neighbor. So you know that you need to quarantine. And it's all by downloading an app. So Slow COVID NC. I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. The other thing is, if you feel comfortable and excited about going in person to go Black Friday sales, then you should feel comfortable about volunteering at any food vending site, because it is safer to volunteer than it is to go shopping. Now, it is the season to give back. So how are you going to give back? How are you going to volunteer? Look for those opportunities to help somebody else. This is not a warm, fuzzy time for some people. There's a lot of ways that you're just stepping up for a few hours every month will make a huge difference in someone else's life. So on behalf of Governor Cooper, thank you very much.
Greg Richardson, Executive Director of the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs here in Raleigh. And this is Indian Heritage Month in our state, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Office of Engagement, Public Engagement, and of course our Governor Cooper, for signing the 2020 North Carolina Indian Heritage Month proclamation. That is very important for the American Indian population in our state, in that it gives recognition and provides some acknowledgement of the American Indian presence in our state. So that is very, very important. Governor Cooper has also signed other proclamations this year. He signed a proclamation declaring October the 12th as Indigenous Peoples Day here in North Carolina. And he also signed a proclamation earlier this year calling attention to missing and murdered Indigenous women here in our state. So we really want to thank Governor Cooper for executing these proclamations, because it's very important for American Indians to be acknowledged and extended an opportunity to be recognized in such a way. North Carolina's Indian Heritage Month celebration will be held November the 20th and the 21st. And this year, because of COVID-19, it will be a virtual event. One interested in viewing the activities on the 21st of November would be able to just go to the North Carolina Museum of History and go to the link there for Indian Heritage Month celebration. North Carolina is home to a very large American Indian population. We have 8 tribes here in our state and 4 urban associations. So that gives us the largest American Indian population east of the Mississippi, a total of 122,000 by the 2010 U.S. Census. So we're quite proud that we're able to have a celebration like this in our state to commemorate the contributions of American Indians to our state. COVID-19 has certainly impacted us throughout the state as we've been moving forward, and then we will end the state with a lot of events and activities that have been curtailed or postponed because of COVID-19. All of our commission meetings now are held by conference calls, and all of our other activities in the state are now going by way of virtual meetings, cultural events, and powwows, etc. The COVID-19 has also impacted business in our community, the business communities, the business side of the Indian tribal organizations, in that all of our activities had to be curtailed. So that has really caused a loss of revenues and profits, monies that are needed to operate tribal governments, funds that are needed to take care of the operations in our offices. Our staff for all of our tribes, including the Commission of Indian Affairs, have had to work virtually due to COVID-19. So like all other populations, the American Indian population in our state has been impacted. But we're also learning some things because of COVID-19. We've been working directly with Health and Human Services. Dr. Mandy Cohen and Deputy Secretary Ben Money has helped us tremendously in terms of being able to isolate and identify the impact of COVID-19 on American Indians as it relates to the number of American Indians by county. We have not been able to get the data by tribe yet, but Health and Human Services has helped us to get that data by drilling down to zip codes. So we now know how many incidents we have in tribal communities of COVID-19 by zip code. So that paints us a portrait to let us know and tell us how the COVID-19 impacting our community. So we're so appreciative of that. In addition to that, through contact tracing and also testing, we've been able to get a number of American Indians employed as contact tracers in our state. And the last total I received, I think it's in excess of 25 now in our state. Those are individuals who are working in terms of contact tracing. That is new and different, because prior to that, we didn't have American Indians working in that area. So that's providing employment opportunities, and that's also providing an opportunity for us to keep a check on the COVID-19 impact in our state. And in closing, I just want to say a thing or two about our veterans. This is November, and Veterans Day is going to be celebrated November the 11th. And here in the Department of Administration, we're having a Veterans Day program. And during that program, Secretary Michelle Sanders will be speaking. Secretary of the North Carolina Department of Veteran Affairs, Mr. Hall, will be speaking as well. And so that will be a virtual event held on November 10th, sponsored through the North Carolina Department of Administration. So that event will provide recognition and commemoration for all of the veterans that are working in the Department of Administration. And of course, we encourage everyone to do that. So finally, we of course will encourage everyone to wear face coverings, protect themselves, wear face coverings, as well as wash hands and maintain distance throughout the holiday season. So thank you again for this opportunity, and you have a great day. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My name is Quinn Godwin. I'm the Acting Engagement Director for the 75th Governor of North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper, in his Office of Public Engagement. Thanks so much for joining us today. We just want to cover a few more things before we close out here. First of all, thanks to Okir for our introduction and opening remarks, as well as Ben with our DHHS COVID-19 updates, and Caroline Farmer with our community service and volunteerism updates. And you just heard from Executive Director Greg Richardson with the North Carolina Commission on Indian Affairs, and we really appreciate him and his contributions today. Just as far as some constituent updates we want to let you know about, we have a big update from the MER program, the Mortgage, Utility, and Rent Relief Program. On Tuesday, Governor Cooper announced that full-service restaurants are now eligible for assistance through the MER program, administered by the North Carolina Department of Commerce. These businesses may apply for up to 4 months of rent and mortgage interest capped at $20,000 per location for up to 2 locations. Businesses can learn more and apply by visiting www.ncommerce.com/MURR. From the Department of Employment Security, we have an update. As of Tuesday, $8.6 billion in benefits have been sent to North Carolinians. The Department of Employment Security has determined eligibility for 99% of claims for state unemployment insurance benefits. Now for community questions, we didn't have any come up during the live stream this morning, but we want to cover a few your frequently asked questions about Phase 3. One in particular about what exactly the change in the the indoor gathering limit entails. So remember, individuals should always check with local governments to determine whether additional restrictions have been imposed by their local jurisdictions to limit the spread of COVID-19. So just to give you details about this executive order, it's Executive Order 176. It's entitled Further Extension of Phase 3 Order and Implementation of Additional Measures Necessary to Protect Public Health. This order will take effect tomorrow, November 13th at 5 p.m. It will last 3 weeks and is effective until December 4th, 2020 at 5 p.m. Now, the only major change that you're really looking at in this order is the mass gathering limit for indoor spaces, as Deputy Secretary Ben Money said, is reduced from 25 to 10 people. So what exactly does that mean? So instead of telling you what this actually applies to, I'll tell you what it doesn't apply to. So which gatherings or other events are not subject to the 10-person indoor mass gathering limits? Worship, religious, spiritual gatherings, wedding ceremonies, funeral service, and other First Amendment activities. Gatherings for work or for receiving governmental services. Gatherings at places that are subject to other capacity limits stated in the executive orders. These include fitness and exercise facilities, restaurants, personal care businesses, museums and aquariums, movie theaters, hotels, conference centers, and reception venues. There will be normal operations at airports, bus and train stations or stops, medical facilities, libraries, shopping malls, and shopping center. And lastly, families of more than 10 people who reside together. So in closing, I want to thank you all for joining us today and listening to our updates. With our COVID numbers being as high as they currently are, Governor Cooper has underscored the importance of wearing masks, social distancing, and using good judgment during the holiday season. And I've seen some critiques that the governor is not, advising you against gathering with your family for Thanksgiving. He's just offering healthy suggestions to keep you and your family from actually contracting COVID-19. So as the number of cases and hospitalizations in our state continue to rise, we must work even harder to slow the spread of the virus in 3 important ways. By practicing the 3 W's, wear, wait, and wash, getting your flu shot if you haven't already, and downloading the Slow COVID NC app from DHHS. Once again, happy American Indian Heritage Month. Thank you again to Mr. Gregory Richardson for joining us today. It's unfortunate that due to the pandemic, the governor isn't able to host our tribal leaders and tribal community members at the Executive Mansion. That's really unfortunate, and it's just one of the sacrifices we've had to make for the COVID-19 pandemic. But he deeply values and continues to honor the past, present, and future contributions of American Indians and the American Indian communities in our state. So reiterating what Executive Director Richardson said earlier, please tune in to the North Carolina Museum of History's 25th Annual American Indian Heritage Celebration next weekend. It's an entirely online experience. It's Friday and Saturday, November the 20th through the 21st, and all sessions are free. And please visit nc-aihc.com for more details. Again, please keep you and your family safe during this holiday season, and please take care of each other. On behalf of Governor Cooper, you have a great day.